Hi, my name is Wesley Paine. I'm director of the Parthenon, and the Parthenon is proud to be a pencil partner. Today, I'd like to talk to you a bit about how architecture is a form of art. First of all, let's talk about sculpture a little bit. Another art form, a three-dimensional art form by definition. I'm sitting on a sculpture that was made of mosaic. So sculpture can be either built up by the artist or cut away by the artist to reveal either an abstract shape or an identifiable representational shape. A lot of buildings, which of course is what architecture is, a lot of buildings are ornamented with sculpture or with other decorative pieces. Our building, the Parthenon, has both. If you think about other buildings that you know, there are a lot of them that are downtown older buildings that have ornamentation of not people necessarily, sort of abstracted leaf forms or tree forms or almost flat but not quite columns. Those are called engaged columns, and they are attached part way to the building, as opposed to things like the sculpture on our building behind me that are completely rounded. So they're not attached except placed on the building. So if sculpture is a thing, an object that is representational or abstract, how is architecture like that? Well, think about architecture as a sculpture you can walk inside of. That, in that sense, at least in that sense, there could be other senses, but in that sense, architecture is the art form of sculpture. And you think about an architect, that's the person who designs a building, thinking about all the uses that the building must, all the functions it must perform. It's got to be accessible. People have to find a way in. The spaces have to work for whatever the spaces are for. Are they for gathering? Are they for sleeping? Are they for cooking? Or are they for classrooms? And think about the best way to create those spaces that work for the function and yet, one hopes, are also beautiful. Sometimes in modern architecture, and you can go downtown again or where you live, your school or your houses, and think about ways that the designer has made the building beautiful and has ornamented it with maybe just a change of brick, if it's made of brick, or a column holding up the front porch, or maybe with paint. But often contemporary corporate buildings, tall buildings or libraries or art museums, other art museums, are ornamented merely by a change in color or a change with maybe some bricks that stick out, some that are recessed, and those ways are ways of making it beautiful, making it decorative without having to have sculpture bodies in the round. So let's go inside. Since we're going to walk into this sculpture that's made to walk into, let's go walk in and see what else we can see that is the art form of architecture. When we talk about architecture, we talk about, as I said before, the purpose for which it was built, and it's got to fit the purpose and be beautiful if it's sculpture. So this building, where we are now, the Parthenon, which is a recreation of a building that was built 2,500 years ago in Athens, Greece, was built not for ordinary people. It was built as a house for the goddess Athena, whom the people of Athens believed was their protector, the one who looked after their city. So all the ornamentation on this piece of architecture has to do with Athena and the people of Athens' love for her and hope that she will continue to bless and protect that city. We're standing up close to the building now, and you can look at the size of the columns compared to me, a human being. And you can look at all the decorations on it. There's sculpture that is not quite three-quarter round, so it's attached partly, and there's sculpture that's completely in the round and is larger than life. And all those are stories that the Greeks believed in and that have a relationship to Athena and how they believed she protected their city. So let's go inside. Let's look at what the architect designed for the inside of this building and for the purpose for which it was built. Come with me. You can see that the stairs here are, except for the center, are not people-sized stairs. These center stairs were built so that people in Athens could come up close. But most of the steps on the rest of the building are just giant. And nobody thought the goddess was going to hike up her skirts and walk up these steps, but they are in scale with the rest of the building. But these people-sized stairs in the center are for us. Now you can see the goddess's statue. She was made of gold and ivory, and look at all the space around her. People of Athens didn't gather inside to see her. They would stand outside where we are now and look at the statue and be impressed, be grateful that they believed she was their protector. But the space around her enhances the sculpture itself. So this is sculpture that we can walk inside, and inside we see more sculpture. And this is the sculpture that the building was built for. This is the sculpture of the goddess Athena. So let's go inside and see what it feels like to be in this big space with this big statue. See how big this space is? Do you hear the sound in this space? Listen to this. Hear that echo? That's partly because the space is so big, also because the building materials. That's another thing the architect has to think about. And here again, art comes into the decisions. It's supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be reflective so that people get light bounced up off the light-colored floor to help view the statue. There was also water in the original Parthenon. We don't have the water here, but there was a reflecting pool, very shallow, but it didn't need to be deep because the point was so that the light would come in and bounce up on the statue. That's another thing that architects have to think about as they design the sculpture you can walk into. They have to think about lighting. They think about the purpose of the space. They think about access to the space. And they think about how are you going to see when you're in here. And lighting can be beautiful in and of itself. Lighting instruments can be beautiful, but lighting can be kind of subtle and hidden. And in the ancient Parthenon, the light all came from the doors. So there wasn't much. It was pretty mysterious, which is part of the design, part of how the people who were viewing it from outside were supposed to see the goddess. So the architect had to think about all these things. What's it for? What's it going to look like? How will it function? How will people get to it and inside it? How will they see what's inside? All of those things are part of the design, which is part of the art, which is sculpture you can walk inside. Thanks for watching.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you're the first to know about all the exciting things happening at the Nashville Parthenon.